As the year winds down, we enter the season of giving. In this week's Beyond the Classroom, a school in Lloydminster is looking for an upgraded playground and is putting on a silent auction to achieve it.
St. Joseph Elementary is looking to raise funds for their over 40-year-old current playground. The school, paired with the school community council, are thrilled with the community's early engagement with the auction.
We were shocked with the outpour of different items that came in from our community. Some are parents, grandparents here in our school, businesses in Lloydminster, as well as our SCC, who are always looking for ways to fundraise to make this playground possible for our students and our community.
The silent auction has drawn in tons of support, including Bobcats players, as well as parents who are eager to see change within their community.
The silent auction is amazing. We desperately need a new playground. It's very, very old, and our kids are excited to have something new. So many different businesses and families in our city have donated items that are amazing. So go online, check it out. There's so many things to bid on, and just don't outbid me.
If you're looking to get involved, visit their Facebook page at St. Joseph Elementary Silent Auction. And that's all for this week's edition of Beyond the Classroom.
At Lakeland College, our students go beyond the classroom for immersive, hands-on learning experiences. It's about experiencing the real world, because the real world doesn't wait, and neither do we.
Lloydminster's mayor and the Saskatchewan Small Cities Group are bringing forward a plan proposing to move Via Rail onto a different line. Stacey Comer has more.
I'm happy to be joined by a special guest today on Primetime Local News. Mayor Gerald Elbers is with us. Mayor Elbers, thank you for joining me today.
Thanks very much for reaching out, Stacey.
Well, I know that you're a very busy guy and you're in the news for a number of different reasons, but for this time, we're talking about a proposal that you are working with, as well as other small communities in the province, dealing with Via Rail. And the way you'd like to see things go is to have the Via Rail line moved on to the CN Prairie North line. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And why would this be beneficial?
Well, certainly the CN main line, as you can appreciate, is the hub, the economic corridor of Canada, in essence, that runs across the country, connecting tidewater to tidewater and through major centers. It's moving on a daily basis 40 plus trains. Those trains consist of freight trains, container trains, and commodity trains, which mean an awful lot to our community and other communities across the prairies, both Saskatchewan and Alberta. So having the Via Rail trying to compete for rented space, in essence, trackage time on that train track, it's not helping Via Rail. Their on-time performance is terrible, I guess is the best word I can use. So what we have been proposed through this proposal that we looked at and had researched was moving to the Prairie North line, where it used to travel at one time. It wasn't even that long ago. The train made a trip through Lloydminster, I understand, in early 2022 when there was troubles on the main line at that time at Chauvin. So it's not that the train can't run possibly on our track, it's just a change of plan. So the area between Melville, Saskatchewan and Saskatoon, Saskatchewan is known as the Bermuda Triangle. Trains go in there and never come back out. And that's exaggerating a little bit. But bottom line is there's that passenger train. I had an example of a gentleman that rode from Edmonton to Saskatoon, and he was 4.5 hours late because they were parked for 9 freight trains on the CN main line. So those are just some of the numbers. From Vancouver to Toronto, they average up to 4 days late. And
Wow.
you can imagine being a tourist traveling from Europe or Asia or somewhere else in the world, used to passenger train service where it's on time, and yet come to Canada and miss your flight by 4 days out of Toronto or Vancouver returning home would not leave a very favorable experience. So that was one of the many reasons that we undertook this project, as well as adding to the value of our local community, our First Nations. And there's multiple First Nations, 16 plus First Nations along the Prairie North line that would be able to access passenger service potentially, but also offer tourism opportunities. 1 in 3 Canadians visiting Canada, 1 in 3 foreign visitors to Canada want an Indigenous experience. And this would be able to grow tourism, truth and reconciliation, the economic reconciliation that we often talk about. This would help open doors for First Nations immensely.
So what happens now, Mayor Elbers? Do you have a lot of meetings that have to happen because of this, or is the proposal officially sent off, or where are you at with this now?
Well, this proposal has been floated to the federal government. It's been sent on to Via Rail some time ago. And one of the pieces we were waiting for was to speak to the city of Saskatoon, because they're the most major urban center that would be potentially directly affected by the move from the CN main line to the Prairie North line. Prairie North line runs through Ormond, which is technically, I believe, 6 miles from city limit to city limit north of Saskatoon. But in the same token, we wanted to ensure the city of Saskatoon was aware, and we were hoping for their support. And they've taken it away from the council meeting, the GPC meeting they had, and have asked administration to seek out some more information, speak to their economic development folks, the tourism folks, which we appreciate, and we would hope they would gather that information. One of the challenges is that when you're that poor of on-time performance, tourism is not going to be that big draw, where we hope we can help enhance that tourism and convince the council that it is a great idea, support the idea in principle, and certainly assist us moving forward on speaking to the federal government, because it has been a little bit one-way conversation. We've reached out to the federal government. We haven't heard back from the federal minister yet, and we've made several attempts to try and bring this to his attention, as well as the Minister of Tourism. We often hear about that economic growth, but here's a tool we're providing via rail. One of the challenges is via rail is not a very common name that you hear in Western Canada, so we're trying to elevate it as well to give them some support. And again, same thing, via rail, we've chatted with them. It's been very brief chats and communication, and we're hoping that this will spur on a little further discussion.
Is there anything that members of the public can do to help you out in your cause at this point, or do we have to wait till things go forward a little bit more?
I would welcome people to reach out to Via Rail and say, you know, if Via Rail came through Lloydminster, North Battleford, Vermilion, Vegreville, we'd want to maybe consider using that Via Rail for families going on a tour. When was the last time somebody actually took a train ride outside of Heritage Park in Calgary, or wherever they might be where there's a train running for that purpose? From the perspective, reaching out to our MPs and asking for them to reach out to the Minister of Transport to at least give us an answer. Is this possible? That's really the question we're asking. There's some work that needs to be done by CN, and we're asking the federal minister to ask Via Rail for that information from CN to determine if we are out of line or not. As I said, Via Rail last traveled through Lloydminster. I saw the video last night, as a matter of fact, through the archives, which I appreciate being forwarded to me. So it can be done, but all we're asking is to start a dialogue, and let's see where it can go.
All right, Mayor Elbers, well, thank you so much for your time today. And here's hoping that this goes forward and we can get everybody back on time, I guess, is the bottom line.
Well, that would be a big thing. The tourism opportunities. I think this is one of the areas we can drive tourism as well. And again, both Indigenous and non-Indigenous opportunities for tourist operators, be it tours to Steel Narrows, be it to the North Saskatchewan River, a jet boat ride on the North Saskatchewan River, and the Indigenous opportunities are numerous. I'd like to thank Okama Lewis from the Onion Lake Cree Nation for their support to this point, and we're going to continue to work with them and other First Nations and tribal councils across Western Canada, namely Alberta and Saskatchewan, because this also has implications to Vegreville, Métis Crossing there, and our neighbors to the west. So we're excited about it, and we'll see where it takes us.
All right, well, thank you so much for your time today.
Abby St. John joins me now to talk about the weather. And Abby, what are we looking at for the next few days?
Well, we are predicted to get some rain tomorrow, which, I mean, not what we're looking for at this time of year, especially so close to Christmas, too. But yeah, we're predicted to get a little bit of rainfall tomorrow, but for right now, we're sitting fine. The clouds have rolled in. Today was a fairly nice day out today. I didn't find it too cold when I was going to work this morning. So that's always nice to see, but we are starting to get more cloud coverage in the border city. We're sitting at 3 degrees right now. Feels closer to -2 with that wind chill, so not too bad. However, that wind is at 22 kilometers per hour, so it's going to be a little windy outside when if you are going out. And then current temperatures across the region, +6 out in Provost and Edmonton, 3 in Wainwright and Bonnyville, and up in Lac La Biche. 4 degrees in Marwayne and Vermilion, 1 in Vegreville, and 2 out in St. Paul and Cold Lake. And then on the Saskatchewan side, +4 out in Green Lake and Macklin, 5 degrees up in Isla Crosse, 3 in Pearceland, St. Walburg, and Meadow Lake, and 1 degrees out in North Battleford. Taking a look overnight tonight in North Battleford, partially cloudy skies. Will drop down to -6, and that wind will be at 17 kilometers per hour. And then tomorrow, expect a fairly cloudy day, very overcast day tomorrow, with a daytime high of 3, and that wind will be at 15 kilometers per hour. And then Cold Lake overnight will be overcast, drop down to -3, so not too bad of an evening, 13 kilometer per hour winds. And then tomorrow expect a very cloudy day out, but not a high chance of precipitation, only 1%. So you should be safe on that aspect, a high of +2 with winds at 13 kilometers per hour. Overnight tonight here in Lloydminster will drop down to -2 with the clouds increasing. So that's what we're going to see overnight tonight. Those clouds start to increase into tomorrow. Winds will be at 20 kilometers per hour, and there's about a quarter of a chance that we could see some precipitation, but not too high. As tomorrow, just to break down the day, in the morning it will be around +1 degrees. That wind will be at 22 kilometers per hour, and it will be quite cloudy, which is the trend we'll see predictably tomorrow throughout the day. Around recess time, mid-morning will be +1, 17 kilometer per hour wind, so slow down just a tad, and there's a 40% chance that we're going to see some showers. Lunchtime will be at 2 degrees, 13 kilometer per hour winds, and that 40% chance of some showers will remain as well. And then by the time school is out, that precipitation chance goes down to 0, with the winds at 9 kilometers per hour, and will be at 2 degrees. Over the next 3 days, we'll have a low of -5 for tomorrow, and then on Friday, a mix of sun and cloud with a breezy afternoon with a high of +2 and a low of -5. And then on Saturday, another mix of sun and cloud, windy in the afternoon with a high of 2 and a low of -7. That's a first look at your evening weather forecast. I'll have more overnight temperatures later on in the show.
The Lloydminster Curling Club has many leagues for curling fanatics here in the border city, but for those a little younger and wanting to learn the game, they have a program just for you. The Junior Rockers program is a low-intensity junior curling program offered every Tuesday at the Lloydminster Curling Club.
Start teaching them the fundamentals. We usually start about grade 4, and then I think we've got kids up to grade 8 that potentially attend, and we've got a wide range of skill levels, so we try and get them organized and so they can work with those people that can best help them just to develop some basic curling skills and have a little fun while they're doing it.
The Curling Club also offers many junior bonspiels for those who want to take their curling to the next level.
A junior spiel that we offer this year. It's the first weekend in February, and it's a great opportunity for sort of them to dip their toe and then work their way up to other local bond spiels in the area. A lot of the clubs offer a junior spiel, so they're a great opportunity to get out and have some fun and do some curling. And then eventually you can get to a point where, yeah, you can do some competitive curling. We have a couple of teams actually out of the Lloydminster Curling Club that compete, a boys team and a girls team in U18 for the province of Saskatchewan.
For more information on junior curling and other events at the Lloydminster Curling Club, you can head to lloydcurling.ca. Abby St. John is back in now to take a second look at our weather forecast.
Thanks so much, Leanne. We are currently sitting at 2 degrees. Feels closer to -3 with that wind chill, with that wind speed coming in at 20 kilometers per hour. We saw a fairly nice day out today. We have some chance of rainfall tomorrow in the afternoon, but for right now we're sitting okay, just a little cloudy, and it'll kind of become overcast as we go further on into the night. Current temperatures across the region: 2 out in Cold Lake, 4 in Athabasca and Whitecourt, 6 in Edmonton, 3 out in Edson, 5 in Red Deer and Jasper, and 0 out in Rocky Mountain House. And taking a look on the Saskatchewan side, -1 in Meadow Lake, +1 in North Battleford, 3 degrees in Saskatoon, 2 in Mount Fort, and 0 out in Prince Albert. And if we take a look up north in Saskatchewan, -6 out in Uranium City, -10 in Stony Rapids, +3 in Wollaston Lake, +2 in South End, 5 in La Loche and Buffalo Narrows, and -1 out in Flin Flon. And on the Alberta side, 2 degrees out in Fort Mac, -2 in Slave Lake, 0 in Grand Prairie, +1 in Peace River, 8 in High Level, and 7 out in Fort Chipewyan. And then down south in Alberta, +4 out in Coronation, 9 in Medicine Hat, 8 in Lethbridge, 6 in Calgary, and -7 out in Banff. And on the Saskatchewan side, 4 degrees out in Kindersley, 6 in Swift Current, 5 in Moose Jaw, 3 in Regina, 1 in Estevan, and Yorkton is sitting at 2. And then on overnight tonight in North Battleford, will drop down to -6. Partially cloudy skies, so it should be a relatively okay evening, and 17km/h winds. Overnight tonight in Cold Lake, drop down to just -3 and overcast this evening, similar to what we're going to experience as well, 13km/h winds. And then more overnight temperatures across the region, -3 in Meadow Lake, -1 in Bonnyville and Provost, -2 in Isla Cross, and -5 in Paradise Hill. All those will be experiencing some cloudiness overnight tonight. And then more overnight temperatures across the region, -2 in Murnum, -3 in Pierceland and in Wainwright, -4 in Unity, and 0 out in Calgary. In Wainwright, there's about a 72% chance of a little bit of ice forming this evening, so definitely proceed with caution if you're going outside, whether it's a walk or driving. There is some ice that will be around. And then in Calgary, a 67% chance of some showers later on in the evening. Overnight tonight here in Lloydminster will drop down to -2. The clouds will start to increase as the evening goes on, and we will have a wind speed at about 20 km/h. And then over the next 7 days here in Lloydminster, like I said earlier, we have a 55% chance of some morning rain tomorrow. Cloudy skies all day with a high of 3 and a low of -5. On Friday, we'll have a mix of sun and cloud, breezier in the afternoon with a high of +2 and a low of -5. High of +2 on Saturday with a mix of sun and cloud with a low of -7. On Sunday, the clouds will start to increase with a high of -1 and a low of -8. On Monday, there will be some sun through those clouds with a high of +1 and a low of -6. High of -1 on Tuesday with a low of -8, and predicted to have a very cloudy day that day. And then on Wednesday, another mix of sun and cloud with a high of -3 and a low of -9. That is a look at your evening weather forecast. We'll have more news coming up after the break.
Global News meteorologist Peter Quinlan joins me today to talk about the weather. Everybody wants to know, Peter, is this weather going to hold for us?
Yes, good questions all around, and it's going to stay mild for Christmas. Hopefully you're ready for that, Leanne. We're probably going to see, in some areas, potentially a brown Christmas, actually, and it's been a while since we've seen that. But this warmer and drier than normal trend is going to stick around right into Christmas and beyond.
So sometimes when it stays clear, it can get very cold. What can we expect from this?
Yeah, so Christmas is still a little ways away, just under 2 weeks away now. At this point, it looks like we'll probably be seeing those daytime highs in -single digits, those overnight lows in -double digits. But you do have to keep in mind that Lloydminster is usually a lot colder at this time of year. In terms of averages, we usually see those highs around -9 to -10. So we shouldn't even be in -single digits. And we will maybe see the occasional day with a high around -10 or cooler, but we'll also see the occasional day above freezing.
Temperature records are being broken across the country. Can you explain to me why and what's going on?
Yeah, so basically what we've been having is this El Nino pattern, which is where we get warmer waters off the coast of Peru in the South Pacific. And what that does is it pushes the jet stream to the north. The jet stream is the boundary between the cooler air to the south and the warmer, I should say the warmer air to the south and the cooler air to the north. And we get on to this warm trend, and that's what we're expecting to be the dominant trend throughout the end of fall into winter. We've been seeing it so far. We've been expecting this, and it also pushes the weather systems further to the north. So they're in the Northwest Territories, the snow bringing system. So we see drier and warmer than normal conditions as a result, and that's exactly what's been panning out. And it's also been bringing in record-breaking heat to much of the country, to the west, to the east. We've been seeing even double-digit temperatures, people golfing in Calgary. It's been pretty remarkable.
So basically, we're not going to be doing any of our regular cold weather kind of winter activities over the holidays, it sounds like, but maybe an opportunity for people to do some things that they couldn't normally do because of the cold.
Yeah, that's a very good way to think about things. On the positive side of the scale, you might not be able to do as many wintry activities, but you can go out for walks and not have to bundle up as much. You can go look at the Christmas lights. Warmer than normal, drier than normal trend will stick around right through into January and February as well. So it does look like it'll be a nice Christmas for outdoor activities without having to bundle up quite as much. And I'm sure you can be a little bit creative with figuring out some things to do that are outside in not quite as cold and snowy conditions.
Well, I'm sure many people will be happy to hear that, Peter. Thanks for joining me today.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Leanne.
Furniture set and design supplied by Furniture Gallery, downtown Lloydminster.
Stephanie Dobson is back with us this week. It's time for another episode of Healthy, Thriving Family After Divorce. Stephanie is a collaborative lawyer, mediator, and educator at Hanka Divorce Law and Mediation with offices in Lloydminster and Edmonton. Stephanie, thank you so much for joining us once again this week.
Yeah, thanks you. Thanks again for having me, Stacey.
Well, we are continuing our theme of the holiday season, which, as you know, is stressful enough if you're just going through the motions, but also if you're going through separation and divorce, it is a lot to handle. So today we're going to talk about some tips basically, and just kind of helping families who are getting through the separation and divorce process. So we want to first talk about creating new traditions and maintaining some of the old ones. So let's talk about that, and maybe an easy way to get around it as you're going through the stress of the season as it is.
Yeah, and for just a refresher for our viewers, so today we're going to be talking about families who are just in their very first time that they're going through the holiday season after separation or divorce. You may remember, if our viewers were with us last week, you may remember that we talked about families who were still under the same roof but hadn't yet separated, and so this week, we're talking about families who this is their first time under two different roofs. So really creating new traditions or even trying to maintain some of the old traditions is really key. So we know that the first thing in planning for the holidays is to create some kind of a holiday parenting schedule. So given that we're already at December 13th here, it's likely that parents are well into the allocation of holiday time conversation and either just about to end up in court or have already figured out their plans. So for for the kids and who's going to be where. So there's some value in looking at whether your split family is considering keeping some of the old traditions alive. Some families try to maintain that sense of togetherness for that first holiday season apart. So celebrating some of the holidays together. So mom, dad, and kids all together. And with that can come some maintaining of some old family traditions that you may want to maintain for the kids. Now, I do recommend that if there is a lot of parental conflict still since the separation, then it's probably best that you spend the holidays together. But it's really what you and your co-parent feel that's best for each of you and for your kids to keep that conflict level low. So if you and your co-parent aren't planning on celebrating the holidays together, maybe you want to come up with some new traditions. And maybe it would be meaningful and fun for your kids to try to come up with those traditions with you. So celebrating doesn't the holidays, of course, doesn't have to be tied to one particular day. It can be dependent on that holiday schedule that you guys created.
All right. And going into the second tip, Stephanie, you're suggesting that you try and surround yourself with loved ones for as many celebrations as possible throughout the holiday season. So, why is that important?
Well, it can be really lonely during the holidays if your parenting time schedule causes you to be away from the children for certain important occasions. So sometimes parents agree that, for example, for the holiday period, for a particular holiday period, like December 24th to the December 26th, will be shared between parents, such that this year one parent is going to have the children for that particular period. So the whole time of the 24th to the 26th. And then next year, the other parent has the children. Well, it's wonderful when you are the parent who has that particular period, but when you're the parent who doesn't have that whole period for that year, it can be really lonely. So one of the things I recommend is to spend as much time with family or friends on the days that are special to you as possible, when you may feel the most emotionally drained. So this will hopefully help to keep you as uplifted as possible. Even during the times when you do have the kids, still may feel a little bit lonely. I mean, it's the first time going through this holiday without being all in one home. So you may go back to tip number one and try to find some of these new traditions that can help to uplift things.
The last tip we're going to be speaking about today, Stephanie, is to create realistic expectations. I bet that in some households, it's almost a competition with parents separating to see who can do more, right? So, why is it important to keep things realistic?
Well, even if you follow tip number one, which is to create new traditions, and even if you follow tip number two, which is to surround yourself with people that you love and who love you back, there's still going to be some moments which make you feel a little bit out of kilter here. So the best thing that you can do is to manage those expectations for your first holiday together as being under two separate roofs, and recognizing that there's probably going to be some moments of high emotion, but there's likewise going to be those moments after the high emotion that are going to help you to get through. We call that mindfulness, is to recognize that the moment, that heat of the moment, being lonely, being upset, having some of these high or these difficult emotions that you feel, we're always going to have that after effect. So, the December holiday season seems to be one of those holidays that can be very difficult for families to get through, especially in that initial year, and may have to, bring some more mindfulness techniques to the family as much as possible.
Well, Stephanie, before we wrap up here, let's talk about what we will be talking about in the next episode, heading into, I guess the few days before Christmas.
Yeah.
What will we be talking to our viewers about?
Well, in part three, we're going to be giving some guidance for families who have been split for a while. So not under one roof, not the first holiday together or separately, sorry, but some parent families who have had some successes and some challenges in the past holidays, and they want to improve that holiday season for their children.
All right, Stephanie. Well, thanks so much again for joining us, and we will talk to you again next week.
Yeah, thanks, Stacey.
TikTok has hit a $10 billion user spending milestone. The video sharing platform is the first app that isn't a mobile game to generate $10 billion in global consumer spending. It's expected to become the highest earning app ever. The spending comes from TikTok's in-app purchases of coins, which can be used to buy gifts for influencers on the platform. The gifts reward creators for their content and can be cashed out, with TikTok retaining 50% of the payout.
I find that crazy, and the fact that it's going to become the most made money app, I think that's wild. I go on TikTok, but I'm not about to be spending my money on TikTok, and I didn't even know that these features were a thing, that you could buy coins to give to influencers. Never heard of it.
It really makes me wish that I had something worth putting on TikTok.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, for sure.
All right, that's all we have for you tonight. Thanks for joining us. Have a good evening.